Hey, I know you're used to clicking on my channel and finding a cool but awesome paranormal reaction video that usually begins with an even better intro video. I know, they're amazing. But today I decided to do something a little different. I decided to share my first paranormal story. Now, I've had a few, not a lot, but some. And to begin, we're going to start with For those of you familiar with the channel, you'll know that I grew up on a small farm outside of San Antonio, Texas, next to a lake that had a power plant in it. I mean, the waters were warm all year. I wouldn't eat anything you fished out of it, but for the most part, I had a pretty normal childhood. At least, I thought. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We actually have to flash forward to understand the past. It's weird, I know. But we'll get there. It's the year 2000. NSYNC is at the top of the charts. Survivor is the #1 television show. The year 2000 was like last Tuesday to me. Over 2 decades. I'm old. Okay, let's just keep going. You see, the year 2000 was the year my mother passed away. Now, this story isn't about my mother's passing. It's just the reason I had come back to San Antonio and was headed back to the old property where the farm was in order to reminisce about my childhood. Kind of remember her in a way by visiting the place I grew up. So I took the old dirt roads back home, the ones I knew, the ones that took me over the hills, past my neighbors' ranches, and down into the valley where our property was. But there was a problem. My house was gone. Now, normally this wouldn't be a weird thing. Houses get torn down and rebuilt and property sold all the time. But what was weird to me is that you think the family would have told me about the house being torn down, right? After all, we still owned the property, and last I checked, we weren't selling it. So why not call the most handsome person in the family to let him know that the house is gone? Well, I decided to call my father, and this led me to the weirdest conversation I've ever had with anybody.
Yeah.
Hey, Pop, it's me. I'm out at the old property right now. I just wanted to get away for a minute with everything going on with the funeral and the paperwork and all the questions.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds nice.
Pop, what happened to the house?
Hey, it burnt down a couple years ago.
Why am I just hearing about this now? What happened?
Well, after your mother and I got separated and y'all moved into the city, I stayed out there for about another year, and then I moved out as well. I didn't know what I was going to do with the property after that, but I don't know, a couple years ago I fixed it up a little bit and started renting it out to people.
Wait, are you telling me somebody was in the house when it burnt down?
No, everyone's fine, don't worry about that. What had happened is I rented it out to a couple of nuns.
I know what you're thinking. Nuns, right? Old farmhouse, one-eyed donkey. It's got all the makings of a perfect horror flick. But in all honesty, it's not that crazy. You see, in South Texas, we've got a lot of old religious missions and churches. And a lot of these nuns and religious folk go out there in order to repair them, fix them up, get them ready for tourists, so on and so forth. So you may be thinking to yourself right now, everything seems to be checking out, Never. What's the problem? Well, this is where things take a really wild twist and go from odd to weird to flat out bananas.
So, needless to say, after about a week of the nuns moving in there, they give me a call, start screaming about how the place is haunted. They want the preacher man to come out there, splash some water around.
You serious?
Oh yeah, it turns into a whole thing. They say I have to be out there since I'm the owner. The preacher comes, he's got a rod, he's shaking, he's screaming words. The nuns are holding on to each other like a damn plane's going down. Next morning, nuns give me a call. It's like 2:30 in the morning. Place burnt down.
Pop, are you telling me that we lived in a haunted house?
No, I don't think so. I ain't never seen no shit like that before in the house. Just those little gray fuckers.
We are now entering the bananas stage. I'm sorry, Pop. Did you say gray fuckers?
Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. You know, the ones from space.
Are you talking about aliens?
Yeah, you remember I used to talk about how my tools were getting stolen out of my shed, and then after a couple of weeks they'd get returned.
I'm sorry. Are you telling me that aliens from space used to steal your tools out of your tool shed?
Well, shit, son, what do you want me to tell you? Sometimes you need a crescent wrench.
At this particular point, I think it's important that you know a couple of things. One, the tool shed he's referring to is still on the property and still standing. It wasn't attached to the house. The house burnt down, not the tool shed. Second, you'll also remember that I am still on the property, and I visited it in the late afternoon, which means the sun's going down.
Okay, how did I never know about this?
Well, your mom and I didn't really hide it from you. I used to chase him around outside all the time. They'd duck around corners. I could never really get a hold of one of them. Didn't see him in the house, though. Shot at him one time, but your mom put an end to that real quick. She was worried I might hit you through one of the walls outside.
Listen, Pop, this is a whole lot of stuff, and I'm already dealing with Mom's stuff. Can we just talk about this another time?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, if you need me for anything, don't forget you can call me. I'm right here for you.
I know, Pop. I'll see you tomorrow.
Sun was going down, and that tool shed was looking ominous. It was time for me to make a quick exit, and I did. I jumped back in my car, went down those dirt roads, over the hills, past the ranches, straight into the city. Didn't even look at my rearview mirror once. Now I know you have questions. Did he ever see UFOs? What did they look like? How come he could never catch one? Did they only take snap-on tools? A lot of stuff I just didn't think to ask at that time. He did say that they had clothes, though. A sort of metallic jumpsuit that didn't really reflect anything, if that makes sense. As for the way they looked, he said that he never really got a good look at them because they were always on the move, but that they did resemble a lot of the things you see on television. As you're well aware, my mother had passed away, so I couldn't really corroborate any of the story with her, and the rest of the family seemed to not know anything about this. But to be fair, it didn't seem like something my dad would bring up in regular conversation. Now I know, I said this was my paranormal story, but it was mostly about my childhood, something that I didn't even know was going on. At the end of the day, it's still just a story, believe it or not, told by a great man who's no longer with us. I did learn something valuable about myself, though. If they want this, they're gonna have to come through me first. And if you want to hear more of my paranormal stories, please click the like and subscribe button below. But until next time, I'll see ya when I see ya. So see ya.